In this video, we're going to look at a bit of an overview between correlation, the correlation coefficient, and what we see in a scatter plot. So the word correlation in a statistics sense means just whether two variables have a linear relationship. So if you look at a scatter plot, it will show roughly a straight line going between the dots. So that is, you're not looking at every single dot, you're just kind of looking at what is the overall relationship when you read from left to right. And we can measure that with something called the correlation coefficient, which we'll calculate in the next video. But right now, you just need to know it's usually called R. It goes from -1 to 1, and if it's right in the middle at 0, it means there's no correlation. So on the two extremes, you could have one of these two things. This scatter plot shows a perfect positive correlation. That is, the dots are all exactly on a straight line that's going up, so your correlation coefficient is 1. This one, on the other hand, correlation coefficient is -1. The negative indicates it moves down as you read from left to right, just like when you talked about lines in an algebra class. And the 1 indicates that they are all exactly on a straight line. Now, with real-world data, you hardly ever see anything like that. You'll see something that looks like this, for example. This is no correlation. These dots, do they show an overall trend up or down or U-shaped or something else? No, it kind of looks like just a random cloud of dots. In fact, the numbers I generated here were completely random. There's no relationship between these. And often, because real-world data is messy and there's lots of variables, you see something that looks like this. So, this dot's the highest, that one's the lowest, but you don't look at those. You just kind of look at what is the overall trend. And the overall trend, if you read from left to right, there is sort of an upward trend in these dots. So if we calculate, the correlation coefficient ends up 0.561. So if you recall, exactly 1 would be all on a straight line, 0 would be totally random. So 0.561 is kind of in the middle where there is an upward trend, but there's still a lot of scatter there. If you read from left to right, this is the highest dot, then the next one is lowest, but overall they're going up. The other thing you might see is a curved relationship. This could be curving up, it could be curving down, it could be U-shaped, something like that. If you ever see a curve in your data, it is not correlated. You can say the variables are associated, but they're not correlated. And unless there's a straight line relationship, there's no reason to calculate the correlation coefficient. And you can see this even clearer if you go into your scatter plot and just click on the trend line. You can see this doesn't work very well. The pattern of the dots is pretty curved. The trend line just doesn't fit very well, except for a few of them. All right, in the next video, we'll look at a bunch of real-world data examples and calculating the correlation coefficient.